My name is Susan Benediker and I'm the MC for this afternoon. I'm really so thrilled to be here and so thrilled to help celebrate 35 years of an extraordinary organisation. You can see around you that there are lights for exits. Their staff will help us with any of those exits should we need them. We've got lighting being controlled from up there. When we have a panel later on, that will be managed with microphones. If you do have trouble hearing, just move a little bit closer, but I think the sound should project quite well. I'd now like to welcome Auntie Trish and ask her to do the Welcome to Country. Thank you.
Yaman Giragiras. My name is Trish Seminar. I'm a proud Kamilaroi woman from Yenda in New South Wales. I'd like to start today by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land, and we all gather, the Didarawa people, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and those in the room today. Aboriginal people have been acknowledging and welcoming people onto land for thousands of years. And when doing this, they would ask, when you are in country, be mindful of country. Be respectful of country. Be respectful of the land. Listen to the waterways. They are more resilient than we think, as they hold the stories and the songlines of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Listen to the land. It holds the journeys and stories of our people as they walked across country. Look into the night sky, as within them is the dreaming of our ancestors, the knowledge holders. As it is with their persistence, we have been able to continue to carry our culture, our heritage, our identity through the songlines. Walk softly and be respectful when on country. Look after country, and country in turn will look after you. When I look towards the 35 years that Junction Support Services has been in the community, I can reflect on many stages through my employment history. Career maternity services, where I work predominantly with a lot of the workers to ensure that our partnerships were strong and supported Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I always say I reflect on the 2 E's and the 2 H's, the education and environment and the health and the housing for all people. Aboriginal people have been persistent in holding on to our culture and our heritage for thousands of years, and we have been instrumental in working towards who we really are and what we really need. Due to loss of land, culture and identity, there has been many challenges for Aboriginal people, but being persistent at times, we have been broken, but then we have been unbroken by support services like Junction Support. But we're still here. This is because of the continued support that we have and hope that we continue to have through the services that Junction Support provide. It is with the cultural knowledge that we share with services. When we do walk in your doors, you provide us support and we provide you support to support us. I believe that if we are all persistent in our journeys together, we can all be resistant and achieve what we all need. I hope today you have a wonderful AGM, and I hope the next coming years are just as good as what they have been over the last 35. Thank you.
I'd also now like to introduce a fairly important person here today, and that's the chairperson of the Junction Board, Neville McCormick. Welcome, Neville.
I might be flat out to read this, but there we go. Well, thank everyone for coming along today, and thanks Susan for the introduction. And it's been a great journey, 35 years. It's hard to believe that we still survive, but we do. I'm honoured to declare the Junction Support Services Limited 2024 AGM open. I warmly welcome to all our guests here and at the Cube in Wodonga and watching our live broadcast. As part of today's formalities, can I ask that the minutes of the last year's AGM, held on the 17th of November 2023, are confirmed as a true and correct record. My board member, Moved Sandra, seconded Vern. All in favour? That's carried. I'm also pleased to present to you the 2000 annual report of the Junction. Oh yes, sorry about that. Junction Support Services Limited, which has been accepted by the Board of Directors, and that's moved by Sandra again. I can't see, but anyway, and Vern. Thank you very much. I wish to advise that the Board of Directors endorsed through a special resolution on the 24th of June 2022 appointment of our auditors, Johnson's MME, for the next 5 years. I'm also pleased to be continuing as the chairman for another 12 months, with Sandra Dalton as the deputy chair and Megan as our secretary. The directors forming part of the governance board into the 2025 are Vern Hilditch, Cheryl Hodgins, Noel Sargent, and our newly appointed member, Alison Wild. I look forward to working alongside this dedicated and passionate group. I'd also like to thank a big thank you to and a farewell to Stephen Lecce, who will leave us in January 2025, for his commitment and dedication to the board over the last 4 years. I especially want to thank Marianne Frankie, who retired from the board in March of this year. Marianne first joined as a support worker 30 years ago, and then she joined the board 14 years ago. This concludes the formal Junction Support Services Annual General Meeting, and I'd just like to make a couple of comments about our growth. As you will see and hear, our 2024 annual report theme is celebrating 35 years of service, and I'm honoured to have been on the journey from the start. When Junction started 35 years ago as Wangaratta Supported Accommodation Group, and as a result of a public meeting, the committee, in consultation with the Department of Human Services, we had 6 staff when we serviced Wangaratta, Beechworth, Myrtleford and Benalla municipalities. In recent times, we have expanded a number of services into Gippsland, taken on a new victim of crime support in Shepparton and Wangaratta, launched Junction's social enterprise Close Collective Cafe, and developed Wodonga's first dedicated community youth space called Windbreak 3690. Over our 35 years, we have accepted many challenges put to us from the community and our funding bodies. Our board and staff have a shared vision from when we commenced until present day, growing from that 6 staff to now 370, who are now part of the Junction community. I would also like to thank a couple of former members who are here today. Firstly, Kathy Rogers, who was on the Wangaratta Supported Accommodation Group Foundation Management Committee when we started back 35 years ago, and a staff member, Lynn, who you'll hear about later. We welcome both those people. Marianne, Kathy and Lynn kindly offered to be part of the special video presentation as they walked down memory lane, and we thank those women. Before I finish, I would also like to congratulate Megan, who was a finalist for the Robin Clark Leadership Award for Victoria's Child Protection, held in Melbourne in September. But also all to the other members of staff who have received awards throughout the year. And now I'd like to hand over to Megan for her report. Thank you.
So thank you, Neville, for your introduction. I think we'd all agree that Neville's story is truly remarkable, a 35-year commitment to Junction and an ongoing commitment to the wider community. It's been great working alongside him. Firstly, before I kick off, I'd just like to thank everyone that organised today. It's come together beautifully and have contributed greatly to the ease of day for all of us. We haven't really had to think about much. So thank you so much for everyone involved in that. I'd just like to congratulate them. So welcome friends, partner organisations, colleagues, supporters and valued members of the Junction community. Today we welcome you as we celebrate not just the close of another year, but an exciting milestone, 35 years of Junction Support Services. 35 years of unwavering commitment to our communities, of providing vital services. 35 years of building strong strategic partnerships to improve client outcomes. 35 years of making tangible differences to the countless lives. This day is a day of reflection of our journey, gratitude of where we are today, and hope for where we'll be in the future. I wanted to take a moment to share my own journey at Junction. Almost 15 years ago, in 2010, I joined the Junction team, at the time, Central Hume Support Services. I remember my first day, the greeting I received at the door of Wigg Street, which was a shed that we had off Mint Street. For those of you that were here back then, you would understand that the main office was on Mint Street, fondly called the Minties. And we were the overflow office of Wigg Street. We had many challenges in the Wigg Street building. We had locust plagues and at times blocked pipes. We would have to cross the car park to join in with the Minties on Tie Tuesdays, daily trivia competitions and social club events. It wasn't perfect. There were certainly many challenges, but I have really warm memories of this time. I mention this because I believe the theme of growth and the increasing need for our services in the community has been a consistent experience for Junction over our 35 years. And in reviewing previous end reports and hearing from Neville, Kathy, Marianne and Lynn, who were part of our founding years, this certainly seems to be true. It feels at times that the growing pains have never truly eased, and we face these similar infrastructure challenges today. However, I choose to view growing pains as opportunities and a faith provided to us from our funding bodies and the community to extend our services to even more areas where families need us. With each new program or extension of a program, we are afforded the opportunity to continue our work. I get to hear snippets of the fantastic outcomes that we are achieving each day. Through interactions with staff, through hallway conversations, I'm able to hear about the wins. A young person re-engaging in learning after a year of chronic absence. Giggles from the children's therapy room as they delight in play with toast. The parent in early help who has gained confidence with raising their children. And of course, hearing about the breakthrough moments where connections are made with young people in our care. And those young people who have successfully been nurtured into independence in leaving care. Getting to see firsthand the amount of young people accessing our youth space, which today Ricky told me was 1,500 since April this year, which is truly incredible. Without this space, we may have been socially isolated, who are now able to build connections with other like-minded young people. As I reflect, I have an overwhelming sense of pride in hearing these stories. I'm grateful for the incredible team, past and present, who have poured their hearts and souls into this work day in and day out. Their dedication, their compassion, their belief in our mission are the very foundation of our success. Reflecting on this past year, and wow, what a year it's been, we successfully launched our new youth space, Windbreak 3690, and accompanying social enterprise, the Close Collective Cafe, which is so dear to many of us. These places connect young people and community members for the betterment of our community. We have also launched some exciting new programs such as a Victims Assistance Program and new therapeutic care models to our residential care portfolios in Gippsland and the Ovens Murray. These new programs have allowed us to further wraparound support to the clients we work with, and they have been invaluable additions. And as we look forward to 2025 and beyond, we know it will be impactful. Our preparations are well advanced for the first intake of the student residents at the Wodonga's Education First Youth Foyer, empowering young people with the support and resources they need to achieve brighter futures. 2025 will also see planning commence for the Building Blocks Project, an early childhood education initiative that supports families during the critical early stages of development. And the groundbreaking investment in homelessness with the Homes First initiative will ensure wraparound supports for members of the community affected by chronic homelessness. What began with a single homelessness case manager in 1989 has grown into a comprehensive homelessness team, a team that will be furthered across the Ovens Murray and Goulburn regions through this Homes First program. These successes are a testament to the dedication and innovation of our team, their ability to adapt and overcome obstacles, and their unwavering commitment to our clients. These achievements is something we can all be immensely proud of. Today, as we celebrate 35 years, I encourage everyone to reflect on the countless stories of hope and transformation that have unfolded within the walls of Junction, some of which you'll be able to read about in our annual report today. We've witnessed individuals from all walks of life overcome adversity, find their voice and build brighter futures. These stories are our greatest reward, a constant reminder of the profound impact of our work and are the reason we do what we do. The demand is unprecedented, almost double what it was just 2 years ago. Your incredible work and dedication to addressing this demand are what make Junction such a respected organisation. I'd like to thank our volunteers, especially our board, whose trust, advice and guidance are crucial to the success of our organisation. Your generosity of spirit and willingness to give your time is invaluable. After 15 years, I still feel deeply connected to Junction and the work that we do in the community. I remain passionate today, as I did when I first started, as a much younger person, and the high quality of services that we provide to those that need us. I'm grateful to be working alongside so many dedicated and passionate people, and I wanted to sincerely thank my executive team, Beck, Shell, Shane and Rihanna. You inspire me, you hold me accountable, and most importantly, you are so dedicated to the mission of Junction and the high level of care that we provide. The future is bright. With the continued support of our community, the dedication of our team, and the unwavering belief in our mission, I am certain that Junction will continue to thrive and grow, creating even more positive change in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You've just heard from Neville and Megan that the journey that began in 1989 had just one dedicated worker and a single program. And this humble beginning has been the cornerstone for that 35 years of engaged community service. There has been a beautiful video developed for today, and it's really showing that journey from the single worker and program to the comprehensive service you know and see now. So I'd like to ask for that video to be played, please.
In your words, tell me what Junction Support Services does for our community.
Yeah, so we provide services to vulnerable people that would otherwise not have a service to support them, from children to families to single adults.
What it does as an organisation is it highlights needs, so that some things that might just sort of slip under the carpet and say these are needs that are existing today in the community and we need to address them.
Well, I think my initial response is to think that each day I make a difference to the people that we care for. They need us, and seeing them go from where they begin their journey with us to where they end up is just fantastic to see.
And I think it's just really inspiring. We've got lots of visionaries across the organisation that really have a lot of drive and passion for what they do and can see a really big picture to support our community.
Nothing is too hard for us. When someone else closes the door to, we will accept the challenge.
It helps them to maximise who they can become and their potential. We're not there to say you need to do this and you need to do that. People choose their own path. Sometimes the path's too hard to manage. They need someone to help them get there. And I think that's what Junction does.
I think it's a service that has always had that focus. I think it's vision and had a commitment to providing a service to people in the community. And I think that's always been there and probably always will be, while you've got good people involved and had fantastic staff.
So my name's Neville McCormick. I've worked all my life nearly in Wangaratta. Worked for 43 years at rural city of Wangaratta. I was on the Mirror Industry Committee, and there was another guy there called Noel Green. And we got to talking about, well, what could happen to these children when their parents die? Who's going to look after them, for instance? Well, that's a good point. let's go and talk to the council about this, because this actually could be a community issue. So the mayor of the day, which was Bill Morris, called a public meeting, advertised in the paper. It was well attended. It was one of the best public meetings Wangaratta's ever had.
Well, I was working in accommodation, and so we were getting a lot of people inquiring who were much too young to be involved in our services. And so I could see that clearly there was a need for accommodation. Then I saw an advertisement in the Chronicle calling a public meeting for people who were interested in, looking at the problem and some solutions. And so I responded by attending that public meeting.
And from that, there was a steering committee formed, and I was on that committee, and the Wangaratta City Council put the hand up and said, yep, we're going to auspice this because we think it's a good thing for this community. Corrine, who was the CEO, and she came on board. And then from there, she and I would go back to the department and say, look, are we doing this right? Can you give us some further guidance? We had no idea.
In those early days, our offices were the old principal, those sorts of offices at St Joseph's College.
And it was 4 little rooms which were connected by an internal corridor. You thought somebody had gone out for the day, but actually they were still in their office. So you blew in to go and see the person 2 doors down. Oh, sorry. The toilets were what the kids used out the back.
It was such a bizarre setup. I remember Marianne was saying, remember Lynn, you were singing and laughing, and she had to say, can you be quiet, please, because I'm with a client. I came to work one day and I said to Corinne and the other staff, I said, I had a dream last night that we actually found some really fantastic accommodation, and that actually prompted this discussion amongst the staff. As a result of that, we got the new accommodation in Chisholm Street, and I always say to people, I had a dream, and that's why we moved.
With the growth of the organisation, it was very hard to keep up with it. Like if you missed a meeting, oh, when did we start doing that? And it's like, oh, well, funding had come through and previous applications had been approved. And
even though we started in Wangaratta, we had the opportunity to go to Benalla. Then we went to Myrtleford. We were asked by the department, would we like to take over Beechworth? We said we would. Probably at about that same time, would we like to take over and run Wodonga? And we said, yeah, well, why not?
There was a time where, they'd outgrown their offices. We looked at the Better Electrical store in Wodonga, and everyone went in and went, oh wow, look at this, there's so much space. A few years down the track, they're stuffed in there like sardines, and it's had to look again. But the board has listened and things have changed.
So when I came on board, we were Junction Support Services, and we were in Mint Street in Wodonga, so we were also in a shed then. We are now in a much larger shed, but it seems that we have an affiliation with fitting out sheds for office spaces. Probably had maybe 8 people in our office. So it was very much a smaller team and smaller organisation. Not that long after I joined Junction, we moved into our office now in Melbourne Road.
When I first started at Junction, I was brought on to manage a program that delivered services into new regions. And so in 2010, we started our support in Shepparton, a program called Homeless Children's Special Support Services. It's one of those memories I have at Junction that's really pivotal, I think, for the change that we acknowledge that children accompanying their families to a homelessness services were a client in their own right, and they had their own unique experience of homelessness. I think that we have known for a while, Corinne, who was our CEO, had many conversations about her retirement, that we had talked a lot about the succession of her over that time and her getting the rest of us who were younger but ready to move into executive roles into the future. So I was extremely grateful for the opportunities that she had provided over my years at Junction, because I wouldn't be here if I didn't have those experiences. And I moved into the CEO role in 2019, so coming on to 5 years now. Bit of initiation of fire because 3 months later we had COVID. The innovation of our workforce at that time was something that I think fondly of now in terms of how they were able to deliver services in a different way to meet the needs of those vulnerable people in our community.
COVID forced Junction to progress quite quickly, I guess, if you're looking from our IT perspective and how we function all together. So it forced us to think outside of the box of how do we do this?
I think that at the heart and the core of Junction has always been innovative in what we deliver, and we've always been encouraged to be innovative in understanding the voice of our community and the people that we serve.
We don't see challenges as a challenge per se, but more of an opportunity to change or come up with a better way or a better program.
Looking back, what are you proud of?
I'm proud of the number of people that we've been able to offer support to, get them back on the track, whether it be the Navigator program or whether it be homelessness, whatever. All those things make Junction a great place.
It's all worth it. I couldn't pick one thing. I think I've been here for 15 years and I don't think I would have stayed here if I didn't believe in our purpose.
Megan, what are you most proud of in your time at Junction Support Services?
I'm most proud of our youth space, Windbreak 3690. It's a great program. It's only in its early stages, but I can see what it will achieve in the community and the benefit that it will have on the community moving forward.
Megan spoke to us about this vision and it came to fruition, youth space, the cafe. This is extraordinary. Community Services Organisation has taken this on as a project and implemented it in the community because we saw a community need.
So I would describe Junction as an organisation that's really passionate about making a positive difference in young people's lives, and I've been here 6 years now and I wouldn't work anywhere else.
Junction to me represents solidarity. We all have different departments and yet we still help each other whenever it's needed.
It's the people who are the heart of Junction. They're passionate, they're vibrant, they think outside the box. There's no problem that's too big for them.
They're just great people and we all get along so well. And I mean, my team has evolved, it's changed quite a bit over the years. Being a support service, I love what Junction do for the community. And
it's a really welcoming individual place. It's not like any place I've worked before, and I was instantly comfortable on my first day. And I've been here nearly 7 years.
But nevertheless, I think it's all that, and it's over the journey too. So it's not just not today's staff; it's the staff that were back there, in 1989 when we first started. I often think now, how big should we become? But it's the need. The need drives the development.
So over the past 5 years, we've seen Junction move into new regions. And so that led us into our new region, which is Gippsland, and that's delivering out-of-home care for young people.
If you asked me 10 years ago, would have we done that? Wouldn't have crossed our mind. But to look back now and to kind of go, wow, we have moved into a new area. We're a part of a new community now. We're there to help a new community. Well, what's next? How do we do better?
I think with the staff that are currently employed, there isn't a limit to where they could go. I can see that they'll just get bigger and better.
What keeps you at an organisation for a really long time is a passion for what we do. It's about making a difference in the community. I mean, it's about our vision, building strong, thriving communities together. That's why we're here. And I think that everyone at Junction has that shared vision.
What an extraordinary video, and thanks to the many, many stars who are sitting in this room who spent some time being interviewed, it came across extremely well. I'm now going to ask a panel of people with lots of memories to come forward. So Lynn Allen, Zach Mason, Bonnie Holt, Bryony Lloyd and Ahmed Khan, if you could join us up the front, please. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. It's really nice to sit here and meet you. I'm going to introduce you one by one, but ask you one or two lead-off questions as I introduce you. Then we'll go into some broader questions that the room may have for you. Lynn, I'm going to start with you. You were one of the stars of the show just then, with a beautiful, bubbly sense of humour, obviously, loving what you do. Lynn Allen's a social worker, and she's worked in the public, community and private settings, particularly in the areas of family violence, youth and community services. And you joined Central Hume back in 1994, a long time ago, as a domestic violence outreach worker. And then for 18 years was with the Department of Families, Fairness and Housing, and say that quickly. And you were student placement coordinator and student placement advisor at both the divisional and state levels. And now working at Wodonga TAFE and Community Services. So I wondered if we could go back to some of your earlier memories, those foundational memories. What really did you enjoy the most? I mean, you've obviously got a sense of humour. What stood out in those early days?
Well, I think one of the key things is to actually be surrounded by a team that supports you, and that was also went right through to the board as well. And so really knowing that that in my role I was supported by everybody, that was really important, because it was a tough role, but everybody's role was tough. You're and even now you're dealing with people who've got complexities in their lives. There's a lot of things that that people are experiencing, a lot of trauma. Where it doesn't matter what area you work in, you're involved in that every day. So it's really important to have a team around you that support you, and also feeling that that what you're doing is actually is actually valued. And I think so. So if I think back then, I felt really supported. I felt extremely valued, that the work that I did was valued, and that I actually had some skills and knowledge that were valued by the organisation. So that was there, and I think the fun too. Like that's something that I is important to me wherever I work, and everybody really embraced that, didn't they, Mary? Sometimes they didn't so much because I was too noisy, and that still happens where I'm working now. People think I'm a bit too noisy, but it's just part of it.
I think that singing in the corridor, or singing where you could be heard in the support rooms, was quite funny. When you think back, like you were there 5 years after the start, did you see that it could become as big as it is now?
Probably. I mean, thinking about how big it is now, I mean, just even seeing all these people here, I don't know if I actually envisioned that it would become that big, but Corinne and the board, they were visionaries. They had vision, and we kept on. Opportunities came, and they were seen as ways that, as Neville talked about, that there was a need out there, and it was really important that that somebody, some organisation, that they actually responded to that need, because there was just so much need in the community, and it's just getting more and more. And I think we had people leading us who had vision, and that was really important. They had vision, but they also knew the value of the workers that they had and supporting us to do our job in the best way that we possibly could. So I think we had visionaries back then, and I think I said in the video that I think that's been there from when I started there, but I think it's remained, and I think that's why it's become so big. and it's got such a fantastic reputation and is doing fantastic work in the community. I mean, the things that I see that are happening now, I just go, wow, that is amazing.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lynn. We'll come back as we go through this process. Zach, I was warned that you would be wearing a very unique tracksuit, but you're not. So you've had various roles, from youth homelessness case manager, residential care community engagement, navigator case manager, and more recently, residential care education support. My notes tell me that one of your many strengths is the ability to bring those relationships with young people, education providers, businesses and community groups all together. And really, that's that combination that creates the magical outcomes for young people. And congratulations. 2 months ago, you were the winner of the Centre of Excellence in Child and Family Welfare's Residential Care Education Award. Huge award. So, Zach, I saw you nodding quite vigorously when we were hearing from Lynn about being respected as a staff member. So tell me, how does that being respected as a staff member flow through into your work with young people?
It's part and parcel with the role. I love the fact that I get respect in the community for something I get to do every day and enjoy to do. I get to work with the underbelly of Wodonga and love them. I love it, and it's mutual respect. I respect them, they reciprocate, and it's just a really warm, fuzzy feeling that you get from doing the job you do.
And I can see the obvious passion. So tell me about that, juggling sometimes those relationships between businesses, education providers, young people. How do you manage all of that when it can be quite complex?
It can. It's very challenging at times, but you've got to do it with a smile and enjoy what you do. So one of my sayings is, if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong, and you need to do it a different way. So it's about embracing that with the young people and also with your community partners. We're all here for the better good of the community, but also to make ourselves feel good. So you can get that reward from doing something by helping
when
others.
you're doing something that fills your cup up, you can't help but be good at it because you want to get better and you're filling other people's cups as well. So if you were to give some advice to new starters in the organisation, what advice would that be?
Enjoy, embrace, and really appreciate what Junction do. I've got a long history with Junction. I've been with Junction 13 years, and through my hardest times, these were one of the most stable things in my life. When everything else was in turmoil, Junction was the one thing that really kept me going and supported me, and we practice what we preach. We help the community, but when staff are having challenging times, we do it for our own. So that was something I really respect about where I work.
Oh, quite extraordinary. And it also, that experience makes, again, you a better person for other people who are going through really tough times.
And when you know your company's got your back, you've got the company's back. It's just kind of reciprocated sometimes, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to move on to you, Bryony. You were in your final year of social worker when you started this journey as a residential care worker at Junction when it was called Central Home Support Services. 20 and a half years later, and the half apparently is important, you were really working to support staff to support their clients, and you've had lots of different roles, including adolescent support program, intensive case management services as case manager, and then team leader in that team. Then you moved over to the specialist adolescent team services. You've had lots of different roles, and you've supervised both the current regional manager of client services, Anne Shirley, and supervised the chief business development officer when they were starting out. Absolutely, it's all on you. You're also very embracing of staff development. So tell me, what gives you the drive and what makes it so important for you to do what you do?
It's the staff. They show up every day, they get out, they're in with the clients, they do the hard yards. And it's the fact that they keep showing up, their passion, their drive. It's just so amazing to watch. And I think none of the staff probably appreciate the hard work that they do, but also that helps to fill, when we talk about filling our cup. When they come back with the stories, with the wins, you manage and support the staff through some really difficult moments with clients. And when they finally have that breakthrough and they're so excited by it, it's a victory. Like, we all celebrate and we all enjoy.
Yeah. So a real sense of shared purpose, and that shared purpose becomes the celebration together.
Yeah.
And that celebration builds the energy to go out and do the tough stuff again.
Show up again tomorrow.
Exactly. So go back and think of you when you first started in those graduate years.
Let's not.
What advice would you give yourself back then?
It won't always be this bad. Resi was pretty hard in the day, and it was before we had purpose-built units. We were in houses. You know, my first ever shift, there was an incident, police were called, threats were made. It was really, I questioned at that point what I'd done. But just showing up again and again and, you know, having those moments with the young people, really, I think Resi is such that moment where you're in the moment, you're in the crisis, you're in that special moment with the young people where you just get to really go on that journey. You ride the waves, but you show up, and over time it really pays off, and it really does. The young people come back and just share, and you watch that growth, and it's amazing.
Wonderful. It is that self-fulfilling circle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really fantastic. And we will come back, don't you worry.
Can't wait.
Bonnie, you've been with Junction in many different roles, and 10 years. So, residential care worker, a leaving care worker, a children's specialist work as a navigator counsellor, and now the role of navigator health and wellbeing worker.
Yes.
You've finished your Masters in social work at La Trobe whilst you were doing this work as well.
Yes.
And now it's about advocacy and change, and a new program called Paw Support. So I really would love to, you've just had a big, massive donation this week. Tell me more, or tell us more about Paw Support and how it fits in with the work you do.
Yeah, so Paw Support's actually been around for a number of years now. I would like to maybe 5 years. And how that came about was, again, identifying a need in the community. So at the time, I was leaving care case manager, and it was my role supporting young people who had transitioned out of out-of-home care. And it was not uncommon, like a lot of the work that myself and the team were doing was not just around supporting the young people, but it was ensuring that their pets were okay as well, because, you know, often like their pets were the most important things in their life, and they're struggling to care for themselves. So, you know, it was supporting them to care for the pets. At the time, you know, we did have the food share donations, but being that food share donates to so many other places, it was very limited of how much pet food we were able to have. So, and it was often negotiating with one another. Oh, well, my clients, you know, got 3 cats, well, mine's got 2. And so we were like, you know, rationing out the food, and it was like, pets are also very, very vulnerable in our community, and we shouldn't be bargaining over food for them either. So that's how Paw Support came about. I did up a bit of a proposal, took it to Corinne back in the day, and it got approved, and then we partnered up with Mars. So now we get really good donations every month that meet the need of the whole organisation, not just even the youth that I was working with, but now all the programs can access that for families that are struggling to care for their animals.
Fantastic. What's that sort of response from the young people as you talk to them and you show care to their pets and include those pets?
Well,
What
some
happens?
children, well, I say children, some young people, they were going hungry so that their pets could eat as well. So it was either or, and it was like, you know, the solution wasn't just, well, you shouldn't be having pets if you can't care for them, because they wouldn't have, that wasn't an option for them. So yeah, it was just meeting the need, and it's been so successful, and we're very, very grateful to Mars for their continued support in that program. Yeah.
And it's really thinking of the whole person, isn't it?
Yes.
The whole person.
Yes.
Awesome. We will come back.
Yeah.
Ahmed, you're much more recent and Gippsland. So welcome, Gippsland. So 31st of May 2023 was the start time for you. And you really moved right through, and you were first employed as a senior residential carer, then moved into the team manager role, and now you're the continued care service manager for the entire Gippsland region. I imagine that this would be, seeing an organisation this large over here and you being over there, that's going to be an interesting time. How have you managed that?
I think it's thanks to the executives and senior management. I think it's just a support, continuous support that whether it's day or night, it's just amazing. And if I share my first encounter ever, as a support worker, I was working and we had an incident in the house and I was on the on-call. And guess who was I talking to actually? Megan and Rihanna. So it was a commitment that actually showed me that, the vision and everything. And I think it continues every day. Although we are sitting like far away, but I think it seems like we are right next to each other. So whenever we need any support, messages or phone calls, it's just available, everyone. So I think we see this as not as a challenge, but we see it as a more collective effort and also, the opportunity to grow, I believe. So it's not, we're not going to stop. We actually recently have got more things coming on board. So we're expecting more and more.
I can see that twinkle in your eye. And I can see, I've got another idea. And now I've got another one.
So, yeah, that's exactly right. And hopefully, as we've grown here for 35 years, and I think now it's a new era and a new space, and we will avail any opportunity comes on board. So
awesome. And I think the strength of the 35 years, but also the flexibility and adaptability to have gone into so many things, from a staff initiative like Pause to really working behind people and with people and beside people. That's extraordinary.
Yes.
And to be able to bring that along. So I'm looking forward to hearing of some of your ideas.
Thank you.
So you've now met our panel members. What I'm going to ask you to do is in little groups of 3 to 4, I'm going to ask you to say, what's the very best question we could ask this panel to find out more? So little groups of 3 or 4, I'll give you 5 minutes time, and then I'll start taking questions from the floor. Thank you. You've got 5-minute rest, have some water, be prepared. It was suggested to me that no questions from the left-hand side of the room. I will override that. A little bit of fear here. But I was also saying that when I was initially asked to undertake this role, I wanted to have everyone at round tables and then send these people out as living library books so that you could get to sit and talk to them about their memories. So in effect, we're doing that just in a slightly different way. I can see the whole floor, so I would love, who's got the best question? Vern has the best question. Let's go, Vern.
Thank you for that. I'd like to sort of ask our question to the newest member here with regard to, the board is always thinking about what's next, and having you in the room here, it's good to think about, so what's the next project, if you like, that the Junction should turn its energy towards in Gippsland?
I think as we started Coles Collective Cafe here for the youth program, I think that's something that I would say that something is missing there, and that would be my actually key observation if this is something we need to. Because there's nothing such a program like this down there in Mobile. There are a couple of programs that are actually in operation right now. However, there's definitely a need for a program that could actually support the youth. And such as having an example which we have got here, I think it's gonna, it's gonna be the best. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now the group over there, about third line back, when you landed on your question, there was a lot of laughter. What was that about?
we're not actually going to ask that question. The question that we landed on was, for all panel members, what is a standout moment for you or a client success that really stays with you?
We might start with you, Bonnie. Have you got something?
Well, for me, it's very hard to pick one specific client. But what I will say that I absolutely love is, 10 years ago I started out in residential care. That was my first role here at Junction. And then, so I got to work for a number of years with a lot of young people, and nothing fills my cup more than, if I'm out in the street or I'm just shopping around the community and I'll get a tap on the shoulder from someone that I worked with 8, 9, 10 years ago, and we have a conversation just of how they're doing today. And 9 out of 10 times they're doing amazing, and they're thriving as an adult, or they've made their family connections again, or they're working in a job that they're enjoying, or they've now got their own family. And to see where they started from, in early days in residential care when I was there, it might have been a very chaotic time in their life, and when you're supporting at-risk youth in that time, it's you just hope for the best for them, but you don't see those outcomes at that time. So getting to see that outcomes, years later is just amazing. Yeah.
It's magical, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really magical. Lynn,
Okay.
I'm calling you Julie in my mind. Wrong. Lynn.
I was suddenly thinking, oh no, it's not me.
Lynn, I'd love you to go.
I can be Julie for the moment. So I was thinking very similar to what you were saying, that I found people would say working in family violence, that's, and as I said before, it's tough, but I just used to always admire and be inspired by the people that that I worked with, the clients. They were just amazing, and their adversity to be able to come through what they were dealing with, what they'd been dealing with. I was thinking here about history and how we always need to honour and acknowledge the history of people that we work with, and here we are today doing that. But I think really, I think I was inspired by every single client that I worked with, every person. I was inspired by them, inspired by what they had overcome, what they were wanting for themselves, where they were heading, and to be part of that journey, I always found was an absolute privilege, and I've never ever forgotten or underestimated that. But I think too, I live in Wangaratta, and I run into people 20 years later who I worked with, and just they'll tell you what they're doing with their lives, and just seeing where they went to, and I just think that it's just amazing to see that, and to have the privilege of being able to find that out years later, because a lot of clients come into your life and then they leave again, and you may never hear or see them again, but when you do, it makes you really, I suppose, feel privileged for that you were part of that journey, and knowing that, and I always say this, to know that I actually made a difference in someone's life is just, that's the biggest honour that I can have, that I've made a difference.
Wonderful. Thank you. Ahmed.
Thank you very much. I think it's pretty similar what they said. It's just what stands for me every day is that there's someone who is in safe hands, and they are away from trouble, and they are, they have roof, for them to stay somewhere and have got everything, whatever they need. I think the story that I have, which was a success for me, we had a client who was quite challenging behavior, and gave us a very hard time at the beginning for a couple of months, and I'm assuming that all of the My senior management is aware of that client as well. When unfortunately her journey didn't continue with us, and she ended up in a different model where after 3 months I received a message from a carer saying that, hey, would you like to come for a dinner one day? And I've got someone who wants to speak to you. I agreed, and when I spoke, he was a young person, and said to me she absolutely hated me when I was working there because I was tough and I was always firm on boundaries and everything, but she said she would love to actually see me again and would love to have a dinner with me. So it was the last year, December, where I was invited for dinner, and I went there in Melbourne, in Largan Street, where I actually sit with that young person who never, who used to smoke maybe 12 bongs a day, and sitting on a chair with the very right manners and foot down, and the person who never actually put a foot down on the floor, always somewhere on the table. Never said like a proper manner. So I think it was the success story for me that I've made a change in someone's life who was quite vulnerable and needed a direction. She hated me. She has assaulted me as well. Just FYI to everyone. The first day when I was at work, she straight away assaulted me after 2 hours. So, but I think after 5 or 6 months, I realized that, the work you do, you don't see actually the success when you are working there. You might focusing on a problem, and maybe those big words coming and throws towards you. However, the success and the impact you leave there, it is very significant. And I think that stands for me. It's actually something that excites me every day to come back and do the job. So, yeah.
Oh, Ahmad, that's an amazing story. Zach?
It's hard to put it. I've had a long career, so it's hard to pick that one kind of client or one thing that's really impacted me. Every time you're working with a young person, they get a house, their first house. It just brings you so much joy every time you get that person back to re-engaging in school. While we work to keep for the young people, to help the young people, we also do it for ourselves, and that reward, that feeling of goodness is what motivates me, keeps me coming back. And every time a young person gets a house, gets back into education, changes their pathway, it's really motivating. But probably the one would be working with a young person and then seeing them kind of continue in your footsteps and go into the career and become a practitioner in the future, and kind of go, I did that because I wanted to be you when I was younger, and I was like, that makes me feel real good.
That's awesome. Bryony?
Yeah, thanks. I'm very quiet, I need it. Look, I'll take a different path in the sense of I have supervised a lot of staff members over the years and have been in a team leader role for a really long time now. So I really like watching, a new grad or someone who's still studying come in, they're really nervous, they're not sure, they're finding their feet, and watching them grow and develop in their journey through case management, through their time at Junction. And sometimes the greatest thing is when they move on. Saying goodbye, while I'm like, oh, it's devastating because, you've put a lot of time and effort and they're really good practitioners, but watching them grow and change and really come into their own has been really amazing and beautiful. And then, hearing them doing different things, different jobs, different opportunities, and just, keeping track of people through their journeys the way that our case managers do with their clients, I do with the team members.
Awesome. Thank you for such a great question up there. Any questions? What are the other questions that are lying around?
Now that Junction's been successful in Gippsland and East Gippsland, is there any plans to venture out into family violence in that area?
So can I ask one of the board members to answer that question?
Good question. Thank you, from Gippsland. The direction in Gippsland is really around wrapping around services to young people. So our current medium-term vision isn't to expand into different areas of need. It really is to wrap around services with the young people in residential care. So our next steps, and unfortunately you know, it would be great to have a youth space, because I know Gippsland have recently closed theirs down. But probably leaving care is the focus around young people. There's not a lot of options in Gippsland for young people leaving care, and we're joining a steering group to be able to support that transition for young people. We have a great initiative in Ovens Murray and a number of different pathways for young people for leaving care, and we see that that's a bit of a pivotal point in a young person's life in residential care in Gippsland, that we can't exit them out into additional pathways. So maybe not family violence right now, but yeah, that's where we'll be headed. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? So was this the group you didn't want to have questions from?
Hello, Bryony. So, Bryony, seeing as a bit like myself, my kids and grandkids, so I've been around. Yes. I've been around since before the dinosaurs. It's a bit like you at Junction. You've been around since before the dinosaurs. You've had hundreds of jobs, two parts of the group. When are you going to settle down into a job? And secondly, what was the best team that you've ever led, and why?
My team.
I think both of those are poisoned questions.
Didn't work. My hearing aid was turned off, Jeff. I'll answer. Settle down. I stayed in a role for almost 10 years, and that was a very big commitment. And then I've managed to find my way back into the role just with a new name. So, I think, we'll just see. Oh, look, a parent doesn't have favourites.
Would it be the team at Junction Support Services?
The whole, yes, that is probably, I can't pinpoint one particular because everyone is so amazing.
Thank you. Well done.
Zach, right.
Other questions for the panel? Thank you.
We've seen some fantastic photos in the video today, and I've got a bit of insider knowledge that tells me you guys like to have a lot of fun in your office, Brian. I'm looking at you particularly. With tins on the floor. I want to know, what's the best event you've held in your office? I think you've done sleepovers in the past. Best activity that you've had as a team?
Oh.
The Amazing Race was so much
The amazing,
fun.
yeah. Look, we're probably known for our wildness at times within our team, and we use it as our moments to debrief and de-stress from the chaos. I think there's been a lot of adventures that we've been on as an agency. I do have fond memories, and Annie will agree, to our sporting careers as Junction, where we really drived a mixed netball and basketball team, and even put a proposal through to Corin at that stage for uniforms. So we did manage to have Central Cume uniforms. I'm actually not sure whatever happened to them, but they were really cool. And then we have done joint campaigns such as Anywhere But a Bed, where someone thought it was a really great idea for a sleepover in the office. Some slept harder than others, thanks Michelle. Yeah, it's been a journey. I think every day is a new adventure. There's definitely some trauma from past Christmas decorating competitions. We could go for hours on how we've ended up here, but it does seem that the youth team does have a special quirkiness about them, but I think it's what gets us through the crazy days.
So, panel, if you were to ask a question of the organisation, anyone in the organisation, but something that I will put some boundaries around it, something that goes to the purpose of Junction and the very vision, that the things that keep driving it. So what sort of question would you like to ask around either the panel members or of the audience?
I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, the leadership is quite visionary, so I believe there's a lot of faith there. So looking the way we're growing and the way we're taking projects and the implementation, is quite promising. So I think there is no, any question that needs to be asked. I think it's all the faith on the leadership and the way they are visioning, actually, the way they are planning to move forward and, and taking those challenges on board. So I'm very happy. I'm very comfortable with everything that is happening.
And you've got extra brownie points for that, definitely. I can see Lynn, formerly known as Julie, wanting to ask you a question.
Lynn Julie. I suppose I'd like to ask the board, Megan, as well. So, where would you see Junction Support Services in 35 years' time? Where would you like to see it? What would it look like?
I think that Junction are establishing themselves as a strong regional provider of services within our communities that we serve. I think that the board and our executive team identified Gippsland some time ago before we moved into that area as a community that was not dissimilar to the communities that we currently worked in, and what was a considered decision to move into those regional communities that are similar to where we have been able to establish the expertise that we have in our Ovens and Murray community and take the learnings into regional communities that have similar profiles. So I haven't answered the question yet, but I guess what the vision in 35 years would be, and the community does evolve so quickly, is that we continue to identify the need, and we've heard that a lot today, but everything that we do is community-led. And we talk about growth, but growth for us allows for investment. It allows us to do things creatively like the youth space. Without that growth, we wouldn't have the opportunity to invest back into our community. So I think that as an organisation, if in 35 years we're going to have a new building where we all fit and we're not sardines, and I think that we're going to continue to be innovative and taking opportunities wherever the community needs us. We've been privileged to have a community sector, our partners, our funders that really believe in what we provide to the community. That's not us sitting here. That's the people that are working in the programs. We are the facilitator of that as an organisation. We are inspired ourselves by the great work that we hear. You know, we don't often get to directly hear from our client group. So as long as we're continuing to do that into the future, I think that whatever we can do well and we have an evidence base behind it, if we can replicate that into communities that need us, we're doing a really great thing.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the panel for the audience? Okay, I think we will wrap up this conversation, and I'd like to say thank you. Thank you everyone for such engaging conversations, for the passion that you show in your work, for that lovely, the joy that fills your cups up, but then does the work that it needs to do, that then fills up your cups again. It's really evident that this whole organisation runs on that passion, but that combined vision and purpose. Congratulations. And just as we started early, we shall finish early today. I have the wonderful pleasure of inviting you all now to go over to the Christmas party. So it will be a wonderful afternoon or an evening for you. Congratulations on 35 years of an extraordinary organisation. Thank you for being here.